This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, I get to Moyed, I get in Kvittel. Welcome back. We've had this Suda for many years, but last year we had to take a little bit of a break because of the Matzav, so we can't take anything for granted. So Baruch Hashem, we're able to get together again this year. And Halavai Vaiter, we want to thank our dear friends, Dr. and Mrs. Menachem Fuchs, for sponsoring tonight's event. When we moved into this neighborhood, we were zoicha to have Shachin Toiv, Chaver Toiv, Roife Toiv, and we appreciate Menachem and his illustrious mishpacha, and Banim Tamidei Chachamim, of Yehuda, Benyamin, of Meir, the whole mishpacha. We wish them bracha v'hatzlacha, gezint, nachas, parnas v'revach, banim uvnei banim, oiskim etar v'mitzvahs, gezint ahed, ad bias goyel tzedek. We also want to thank our dear friend, Rabbi Isaac Yaselovsky, who's sponsoring Le'nishmas, his grandfather, whose yahrzeit is tonight, Menachem Mendel ben Aaron Moshe. Rabbi Isaac is a dear friend of mine, and even though he's Mekayim the Gemara, Harotza lahachkim yadrim. The Chazal say if you want to become smart, you have to go to the south. So he was Mekayim that Gemara, so we're Mevarach him and his own mishpacha with great bracha v'hatzlacha, simchas nachas, gezint, parnas v'revach, v'yimalei Hashem kol mashas libchem l'toiva. Okay, don't be scared by the sheet. We'll try to keep it a little bit brief as we can, and cut to the chase tonight. We're going to speak a little bit about the simcha of Simchas Beis HaShoeva, and of course we're going to get into our favorite subject, which of course is the main part of the Hoshana service, which is the stanza Ani v'hoi Hoshiana. Ani v'hoi. Now, usually when people are in trouble, they call upon the Lord, the Almighty. Who's Ani? Ani should help me. Who's Hoi? Ani and Hoi, both of them, they should help me. So what exactly does that refer to? So we've already, throughout the years, we've learned Rashi's Pshat. Last night in Ir HaKodesh, Williamsburg, we went through Tosfos' Pshat. Rashi brings down two Perushim. Tonight, we're going to learn the Perush of the Rambam. Even though the Rambam's not on the sheet, that's just to keep you on your toes, so you don't think everything's on the sheet. So there are going to be a lot of things not on the sheet, certain things are on the sheet. Tonight's going to be, I'm going to share with you the Rambam's Pshat in Ani v'hoi Hoshiana. This is also offered by the Roikeach and elaborated upon by the Megala Amukos. Namely, let's just go through in case you're not familiar or you forgot from last night or from one of the other shiurim. What does it mean, Ani v'hoi Hoshiana? Basically, there are three psukim consecutively in Parshas Peshalach, each one having 72 letters. Vayet, Vayasa, Vayisa. And these three psukim, if you use the following formula, the formula being Vayisa, Vayova, Vayet, Yosher, Hafuch, and Yosher, which means, Rashi says, you take the first letter of the first pasuk, and this is on your sheet, on side 2. This is number 10 and 11, where we have a chart of all 72 names of Hashem. Using the formula of Yosher, Hafuch, and Yosher, you take the first letter of the first pasuk, which is a Vav, you take the last letter of the second pasuk, which is a Hey, you take the first letter of the third pasuk, which is a Vav. That gets you the first name of Hashem, which is V'hoi. Now, if there's 72 different names of Hashem, so that means there are two general columns, and column 1 through 36 is led by V'hoi, column 37 through 72 is led by Ani. Ani, how do you get Ani? You take the 37th letter of the first pasuk, the 37th to last of the second, the 37th of the third, and that spells out Ani. These are the two primary names of Hashem. Where do they come from? So we're going to offer tonight a possibility. I don't think we've mentioned it before. I think I once said it 8 years ago. It's brought in the Sefer Oitzer HaTfilos, and that is, Ani is shorthand for the Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Ani is shorthand for Aleph Daled Nun Yud. And Yud Kei Vav Kei, in short, is V'hai. So basically, Ani V'hai is shorthand for Adnus and Havaya. Okay, so these are the two names of Hashem. Why do we dafka use these two names? So Pashut Pshat is, these are the two heads. The head of group from 1 to 36 is Ani, is Vahoi. The head of 37 through 72 is Ani. So we take the two Roshim. The Gra in Shir Hashirim, in Parak Aleph, Pasuk Dalet says that whenever you have the number 70, there are always two heads. For example, the 70 members of Sanhedrin is led by the Nasi and the Avbezdin. The 70 souls that went down to Mitzrayim, led by Yaakov and Yosef. The 70 nations of the world are led by Esav and Yishmael. That's a principle in Jewish thought. 70 always has two heads. Likewise, the 70 names of Hashem has Ani V'hai. But here's the problem. The problem is it's out of order. Why? Because V'hai is the name 1. Ani is name 37. So it should be V'hai Ani, Hoshana. Why Ani V'hai? So we discussed that last night. Ayin, TorahAnytime.com, if you want to know how, according to Rashi, we could explain the order of the names. Tonight we're going to learn the Shita of the Rambam. The Rambam is found in the Perush HaMishnayos. The Rambam in the Perush HaMishnayos says that the Tefillah Ani V'hai Hoshiana comes from a very important pasuk in Parshas Ha'azinu. Take a look on your sheet. Number 18. Re'u ata ki ani anihu v'yein Elokim imadi ani yamis achayem achatzi bani yarpa v'yein miyadi matzil. This pasuk, says the Rambam, is the source of the tefillah Ani V'hai Hoshiana. By the way, the Roikeach says one should be mechavein, especially in the tefillah of Ani V'hai Hoshiana, because the ikar slichais, the ikar kavod, the ikar slicha, the ikar Hoshana is Ani V'hai Hoshiana. So even though in many places they say slowly as you go around the bima and Ani V'hai Hoshiana, you're off to the races. The Iker Hoshanois is Ani V'hai Hoshiana. That should be a person's main focus. And according to the Rambam, it is rooted in the pasuk Ru'u Ata Ki Ani Anihu V'yein Elokim Imadi. In fact, the Megala Mukoi says, if you look in this pasuk, how many times do we have the word Ani here? We have the word Ani 4 times. Namely, what it's trying to say is, there's nobody like Hashem, not Ba'olam Hazeh, not Ba'olam Haba, not Limois HaMashiach, and not Bizman Tchias HaMesim. Based on this pasuk, they are masaking to say, Ein aroich l'cha Hashem l'keinu ba'olam hazeh, ve'en zelas l'keinu l'chai l'olam haba. Efes l'galen l'mois HaMashiach, ve'en doim l'chama she'en l'tchias HaMesim. It's rooted in this pasuk, Ru'u, Ata, Ani, Ani, Hu. And here's the question. There are a lot of psukim in the Chumash. Why do we pick this pasuk, which, by the way, happens to be the 901st pasuk in Sefer Devarim, and say, this looks like a good pasuk to get Hoshanas from. Let's randomly make a goiro. We're going to put all the psukim in a lot, and we're going to pull out pasuk Ru'u Ata Ki Ani Anihu. Why do we dafka pick this pasuk? What is so significant about this pasuk? Let's talk about Hillel. Hillel was a great person. Hillel is Gematria 65, the same as Aleph Daled Nun Yud. And therefore, if there's anyone in this world who knows anything about Hashem's name, it's going to be Hillel, especially the name Ani, because Ani is shorthand for Aleph Daled Nun Yud. So Hillel, who's Gematria Aleph Daled Nun Yud, he probably knows a thing or two about the Shem Ani. That just dawned on me. But Hillel said like this. They said about Hillel Hazaken. Now, here's the thing. How often in Shas is he called Hillel Hazaken? I don't think he's usually called Hillel. But when it comes to Simchas Beis HaShoeva, all of a sudden he's called Zaken. Kishaya Sameach b'Simchas Beis HaShoeva Amar Kain. He said as follows. He said, Im Ani Kan Hakol Kan. If I'm here, everything is here. V'im Eini Kan. And if I'm not here, Mi Kan, who's here? Hu Haya Omer, he would say. Lamakom shani oyev, to the place that I love, sham raglai malichos. I say that's where my feet take me. Hillel said 3 things. If I'm here, everyone's here. If I'm not here, no one's here. And the place I love, my legs take me. What's the meaning of Hillel's statement? Says the Arizal in the Sefer Likutim. First of all, Hillel was very old, but that's irrelevant. Nobody cares how old he is, except when it comes to the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, because it wasn't easy to make the trek up to Simchas Shveva. I remember I was once staying in Baka for Shabbos. So the guy told me, my dear friend, he said, it's there, the Koisam Arvi, it's right around the corner. It's only, whatever, 15, 20 minutes. 30 minutes later, you're still climbing up. Remember Yehuda? Yehuda remembers, right? So it's so long to go up, to be Oile Regel. It's not Pashat. Hillel says, I don't want anyone to have an excuse not to be Oile Regel. People are going to say, I can't be Oile Regel, it's too congested, there are too many Americans, there's this, there's that. Hillel said, I'm old. If I could do it, everyone could do it. Imani kan, Hillel Hazakin says, if I am Oile Regel, kol kan, everyone will be, because nobody will have any excuse because I'm older than anybody. But, v'meini kan, if I don't go, nobody's going to say, oh, he didn't go because he's old. They're going to say, the rabbi didn't go, then we don't have to go. Any kan, if I don't go, mi kan. And then the question is, how did he get there? Not easy to walk. He's an old man. How did he get there? The answer is, Hillel was in such a habit of being oile regel, his feet just took him there. That was the habit of his evarim. There's a concept that if a person gets into, by the way, one of the good things about learning on the porch is you get to learn the flight patterns of JFK. So Hillel said that I was in such a habit of going to be Oile Regel, so my legs took me there on their own. The Arizal says that sometimes people have a very hard time after they stick their hand in their wallet. Somehow something gets very sticky between the hand and the wallet, and sometimes the hand never is extracted from the wallet. So how do you overcome that stickiness? You never saw such a thing. Sometimes people there's crazy glue in there. There's some Velcro. They can't. The answer is, says Arizal, misas nidvas yodcha asher titein. You have to habituate your hand to give. It's something. It's like an acquired motion. Lethargic. In other words, by default, the hand will be in a locked position next to the side of the leg. A person has to get into the habit of exercising the motion of being a nois. And that's what Hillel says. Lamakam shani oihev sham ragli moilichos oisi. We would like to try to uncover what is the deeper meaning of imani kan, hakoil kan. After all, ani has a lot of meaning because ani is one of Hashem's name. So Hillel would say, if Ani is here, l'chayr, he means if the Rebbeinu Shalom is here. But why doesn't he say, im shakai kan, im elokim kan, im havaya kan? Why dafki im Ani kan? And what's hakoil kan? By the way, in this light, we can understand, Hillel used to say, im ein ani li, mi li. If Rebbeinu Shalom is not for me, who's with me? That's what he meant. He didn't mean if I don't act for myself. If the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't help me out, who will be for me? Another interesting thing. What's a sukkah? How many walls is a sukkah? Shnayim v'tefach. Really, it's a machlokes, Rabbanon and Reb Shimon. The Rabbanon say 2 walls and a tefach. Right? Like Reb Shimon Zalman says, Yachbieni b'tzel yadoi tachas kanfei ashchina. The sukkah is really an embrace of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have an amma, and a tefach. What's an amma, a tefach? It's smoiloi tachas l'roishi v'yaminoi techabakeni. It's a hug from the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's Rebbeinu Shalom's embrace. Amma, tefach. Reb Shimon says no. 3 amos and a tefach. Where do we get this thing that the last wall does not have to be an amma? It could be a tefach. Where does this come from? It says it somewhere? Doesn't say anywhere in Kol HaTorah Kula explicitly that the last wall could be a tefach. Where do we learn this from? The Gemara in Sukkah says on Vav Amud Beis, we learned this. It's halach l'Moshe Misinai. It's halach l'Moshe Misinai. That what? We learned this from either Yeshem l'Mikra, Yeshem l'Memsaira. The last word Sukkah somehow is a drasha, l'Greyusa, that it detracts. In other words, the Shem Yishmael wants to know why doesn't it say anywhere that the third wall could be a tefach? Why does it have to be learnt out from a drasha? Why isn't it explicit anywhere that the third word is a tefach? Third word is a tefach. Now, we asked, Ani v'hoy is out of order because Ani is the 37th name of Hashem and v'hoy is the first name of Hashem. But according to the Rambam, that it comes from the pasuk in Hazinu, Ru'u ata ki ani hu. We understand the order of ani v'hay Hoshana because it's following the pattern of the pasuk. It's not because ani is the name of Hashem and v'hay is the name of Hashem. We're following this pasuk. In other words, it's completely rooted in the pasuk. Ru'u ata ki ani hu v'yein elokim imadi. So therefore we say ani v'hay Hoshana. Why that order? Because that's the order of the pasuk. But what's so significant about this pasuk? Why do we root the tefillah, the ikar tefillah of Sukkot? Why is it rooted in this pasuk? This we discussed over Yom Tiv. Chazal tell us, Gedoyla Chuvah, Shemagas, Ad, Kisei HaKavod. Chuvah is great. It reaches all the way up to the throne of glory. And the question is, why does Chuvah have to go all the way up to the throne of glory? Does it say anywhere in Chazal, Tefillah goes all the way up to the Kisei HaKavod? No. Does it say anywhere that somebody who learns Torah goes all the way up to the Kisei HaKavod? Doesn't say that anywhere. So why does Tshuva need to go all the way up to the Kisei HaKavod? In other words, it seems like we have this great opportunity to do Tshuva, and it goes so high up. You know, the Kisei HaKavod is very far away. Just to get to the sun, traveling at 186 million miles per second, right? How long does it take? Couple, 8 minutes. That's to get to the sun, which is in our galaxy, which is one of the closest stars in our galaxy. So to get to the end of the galaxy, traveling at 186,000 miles per second, how long does it take? It could take years. And that's our galaxy, and there are billions of galaxies. So that means Tshuva has to travel billions and billions of light years away, but it gets there. And how about Torah? Does Torah go to the Kisei HaKavod? No, Chazal don't say Torah gets to the Kisei HaKavod. Tefillah doesn't say anywhere Tefillah goes to God. Why does Tshuva have to go to the Kisei HaKavod? Why can't it go where, when I shake a lulav and esrog, it goes to the Kisei HaKavod? Doesn't say that anywhere. When I blow shofar, it goes to the Kisei HaKavod? Doesn't say that anywhere. So why does Tshuva have to get to the Kisei HaKavod? There's a very mysterious comment at the end of Sefer Devarim. It says the total number of psukim in Sefer Devarim is 955. 955 psukim in Sefer Devarim. Yeah, what are we going to do with that? What's the significance of 955 psukim in Sefer Devarim? So there's an amazing Sefer. The name of the Sefer is Masei Rekeach of Rabbi Lezer of Amsterdam. The Belzer Rebbe said this Sefer is the skula for Simcha. So if you learn the Sefer, it's the skula for Simcha. So what better Sefer to learn on the Yom Tov of Sukkot than the Sefer Masei Rekeach? Interestingly, he says the exact same thing as the Vilna Gaon. And that is, the Medrash tells us that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu came to Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu was 120 years old, and he says, Moshe Rabbeinu, it's time to go. Your life is over. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, I can't believe it. You're telling me, Hein karvu yamecha lamos. It's not fair. Lo yamos ki achia. I don't want to die. So Hashem says, okay, I'll give you your last wish. What do you want to do? So Moshe Rabbeinu says, my last wish is davar echad ani mevakish mimcha lefnei moisi. She'ekones v'yibaku kol hasha'arim shebashamayim u'sahaymos. I want to crack open all the gates of heaven. V'yiru she'ein zu lascha, and I want everyone to see that there's nobody but you. Ein oid movadoi. So God said, no problem. You say ein oid movadoi, I say v'loi kam navi b'Yisrael oid k'Moshe. So Moshe Rabbeinu's last wish, he wants to crack open the heavens. Everyone will take out their binoculars and they'll look straight up and they'll say, oh, we thought there's, Gabriel, Michael, Raphael, Matatron maybe. No, we see beyond everything. We see in the highest realms. It's Ein Oid Movadi. It's just the Almighty. It's just the Ribbon Shalom. Fine. So Moshe Rabbeinu did it. How did he do it? How did he open up the heavens? He got a book. He ordered a book. What? Opening up the heavens on your final day. How did Moshe Rabbeinu open up the heaven? How many heavens are there? So the Megala Mukos is Megala. And the Masei Rekeach reveals, and the Gra says, we take the numerical value of the word Shamayim. What is the numerical value of the word Hashamayim? Hey is 5. Shin is... Don't be embarrassed. What's a shin? 300. And what's a mem? 40. And what's a yud? And what's a final mem? So we know the tuf is 400, final chaf is 500, final mem is 600. Ha-shamayim is 955. There are 955 levels of shamayim. It's well known. You could count. You could go and count. You'll find there are 955 levels of shamayim. Gematria ha-shamayim. What else is 955? The number of psukim in Sefer Devarim. Says the Megala Amukah, says the Maser Kach, says the Goin, with each pasuk of Sefer Devarim, Moshe Rabbeinu cracked open another layer of the Shamayim until he got to the final 55 levels of Shamayim. Now, what is significant about the final 55 levels of Shamayim? The Chazal say as follows, that the final 55 levels of Shamayim, nobody is allowed to be there. Not Michael, not Gavriel, not Uriel, not Nuriel, not Sandalphon, not all of these Chevra. They can't go there, not even Matatrain. On the final 55 levels of Shamayim is Ein Oid Milvadai, is just the Rebbeinu Shalom himself. We know, why did Acher go off? Because Acher was Matayel Bepardes, and he saw upstairs the Rebbeinu Shalom and Matatrain, so he thought they're Shnei Reshuyos. But that's because Acher only peered the bottom 900 levels of Shamayim. If he were to look in the top 55 levels of Shamayim, which are Hein Lashem Eloikecha Hashamayim Ushmei Hashamayim. Hein is numerically valued what? 55. The top 55 is only the Rebbeinu Shalom. No one else is there. Shvilei Pinchas suggests why nobody else there. Because we say Hein Levadad Yishkain. Klal Yisrael is a nation unto themselves. Nobody mixes with Klal Yisrael. So Klal Yisrael stays to themselves. So because we're Hein and we stay to ourselves, so the Rebbeinu Shalom relegates 55 levels of Shamayim that he's there himself. By the way, we explained, the Medrash says that the word Hein is a very unique word because the letter Aleph has a shidduch. The shidduch of the Aleph is a tes. So the Aleph and the tes, they get married. And they make a bayis number, they make a yud. And a beis gets along with a ches. And a gimel gets along with a zayin. And a dalid gets along with a vav. And a hey is in a shidduch crisis. What about the next letters? A yud has a tzadi. A chaf has a pei. A lamed has a ayin. A mem has a samach. Nun's he's a little lost. So Hein Lashem Lekecha. Hein are the letters that are unto themselves. So Klal Yisrael is Henam Levadad Yishkain. The Rebbeinu Shalom is Hein Lashem Lekecha Hashamayim Ushmei Hashamayim. The final 55 levels of Shamayim are reserved only and solely for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. No one else is there. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, pasuk, he starts, Eila hadvarim, and he cracks open the first pasuk. He cracks open the second pasuk, and he says pasuk after pasuk after pasuk, and he's not happy, he's not sufrieden, because he's looking around and he sees Malachi Asher Sefer. You know how many malachim there are? There are hundreds of thousands of millions of malachim Asher. They're flying, they're swimming. Moshe Rabbeinu says, what's going on over there? I asked to open up the Shamayim, and I want to see Ein Oid Milvadai. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, pasuk after pasuk. Rebbeinu Shalom says, wait, have patience. You need to get to the 901st pasuk. When you get to this pasuk, you'll see Ein Oid Milvadai. So Moshe Rabbeinu finally gets up to Parshas Hazinu. And you know what the 901st pasuk is? Re'u, see, ata, now. Meaning, when you got to the 901st pasuk, Ki ani, it's I, Ani, I, who, that's the one. V'yein Elokim imadi, no one's with me. Matachon's not here. Ani omisvachaya. I cause death and bring to life. Machatzti, I wound. Va'ani erpa. V'ein miyadi matzah. That's the 901st pasuk. From this pasuk, and I, Moshe Rabbeinu, saw there's nobody in the Shamayim other than the Ribbon Shalom. Now we see why this pasuk is so significant. Why we're summoning this pasuk. This pasuk is sort of the clearest articulation of the fact that there's nothing in the universe other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And apparently on Hoshana Rabba, which is the Chasima Gedola, we are looking to tap into this pasuk. But what exactly is the kayach of this pasuk? What is so special about this pasuk? And why doesn't the Rebbe Shem let anybody go up to the final 55 levels of Shamayim? Sharing is caring. Why, why can't Malachim go there? I don't know. Are we allowed to ask that? If we're allowed to ask it, we're going to ask it. Why can't Malachi Asharis go up there? What's going on over there? It says you're not allowed to ask beyond. This is still in permissible territory. Why is there this realm where there are no Malachi Hasharis? Can we suggest as follows? There is something in this world that the Malachi Hasharis do not like. In fact, they detest it. Not only do they detest it, not only do Malachim not like it, nobody likes it. Not only do Malachim not like it, Nevi'im don't like it, and Chachamim don't like it, and even the Torah doesn't like it. You know what that thing is called? That thing is called Chuvah. Nobody likes Chuvah, because Chuvah doesn't make any sense. A guy commits a crime. He goes into a store, and he robs one store, and then he robs another store, and the guy he's a serial killer and robber, and they catch him, and he stands in front of the judge, and he says, "Judge, I just learned Shari Tshuva, Rabbeinu Yoina. First thing I want you to know is Amizvade Chotosi Avisi Poshati Lefanecha Miyoim Heyoisi Ala Adama Ad Hayoim Hazeh. I did everything. And I'm mamish mischoret, believe nishbar v'nidke, and I feel terrible about what I did. And I'm going to stop doing it, and I'm a mekabel mikanu lahaba, I'll never do it again." And a bas kol comes out. Yes, we confirm he will never do it again. And you know what the judge says? You're right, you'll never do it again. Behind bars, you will never do this again. Tshuva doesn't work in any discipline in life. Somebody makes a mistake, there's no way, you can't correct it just because you're sorry and you feel bad. In what realm of life could you just correct something because you admitted to it and you feel bad? And that's why the Yerushalmi tells us, they asked Chachma, what should be the fate of someone who sins? And Chachma says they should die. And they asked the Torah, what should be the fate of someone who sins? The Torah said, I don't know, maybe you should bring a carbon. And they asked the Ribono Shel Olam, what should be the fate of someone who sins? And the Ribono Shel Olam says he could do Tshuva. Which means, Chachamim don't understand Tshuva, the Torah doesn't understand Tshuva, the Malachim don't understand Tshuva. There's only one entity that accepts Tshuva, and that's Ribono Shel Olam himself. You know the story, the Yerushalmi tells a story about Menashe. Menashe served every idol in the world, and then he was in hot water, literally, he was put in a pot. And he said, he calls out to all of his idols, and he says, God, in case you happen to exist, then now would be a good time to show me. Wow, mamish, a very sincere tshuva, right? He said, on the off chance you actually exist, maybe you want to bail me out. And the Rebbe said, ooh, he's mamish, he wants to do tshuva. And the malachim are saying, what? He wants to do his tshuva is laced in kfira. Ein lecha heresy. He was just koifer beikar, and that's no. And I'm doing tshuva on amanas that you exist. And the Rebbe was willing to accept the tshuva. So the malachim they built an iron fence, and the tshuva wasn't going to work. So Hashem had to do like a quadruple bypass. He had to make tunnels, underground tunnels, to accept the tshuva of Menashe. So Malachi Ashuris don't like tshuva. In fact, we've said over many times in the past, there's a pasuk in Yeshaya, could be it's on the sheet. Look at number 30. The pasuk says in Yeshaya, Amar Shomer, the Shomer says, Asa boiker, the morning has come, v'gam laila, im tevayon ba'ayu. If you want to do tshuva, do tshuva. If you want to do tshuva, do tshuva. Now, which word here means tshuva? Tibayon. In which language does it mean tshuva? Aramaic, Asari. Why is the Navi all of a sudden speaking in Aramaic? Yeshaya lived in Eretz Yisrael, he's speaking in Aramaic. The answer is because he can't say tshuva too loud, because the malachim would come, they would have a breakdown if the malachim heard anything about tshuva, so God had to cover it over. He called it in Tibayon Bayu. The Malachi Ashars don't accept tshuva. Chachma doesn't accept tshuva. Nevuah doesn't accept tshuva. The Torah doesn't accept tshuva. Only the Rebbeinu Shalom himself. So, if there was a realm where there was a big sign, Malachim stay out, and all the Matachon, he said, let me in, no, this is not for you. And all the Malachim trying to get in. What do you think that realm would be for? I think it's reasonable to assume that realm would be for something that only the Rebbeinu Shalom could understand. Perhaps the realm of the final 55 levels of the Shamayim are for Kabbalah's Chuvah. It's for Chuvah. It's for Chuvah to be accepted. So what evidence is there? Let's look at the 901st pasuk. What does the pasuk say? Re'u, see, ata, now. Chazal always say, ein ata ela tshuva. Ata means tshuva, like by Adam Arishain. We are looking number 43. V'ata now pen yishlach yodai, after Adam Rishon ate from the Yitz Hadas. The pasuk says v'ata pen yishlach yodai. Amar Rabba bar Kahana melamed shepasach loya Kadosh Baruch Hu pesach shel tshuva. V'ata ein v'ata ela tshuva. V'ata refers to tshuva. So if the pasuk says Ru'u ata, see now, what do you think now means? It means tshuva. The Rebbeinu Shalom says this realm 901 to 955. This is the makom where I accept tshuva. Yeah, but the malachim are going to interfere. No, we don't let the malachim in over here. They're not allowed in. They stay out. Matachon's not in there. None of the malachim are in there. They can't be mekatreg on that tshuva. You know, the Chofetz Chaim writes on the Gemara, "B'makom shabalei tshuva oimdim tzadikim gemurim einam yichom lamoid." Then the place where the balei tshuva stand, the completely righteous are not able to stand. Chofetz Chaim explains that if there is a bal tshuva, somebody who does tshuva, the malachim hate that person so much. The malachim try to instigate and fight the Rebbeinu Shalom's acceptance of that tshuva, that the Rebbeinu Shalom literally has to lift the person up above the malachim, so the malachim don't start up with him, because otherwise the malachim can't understand why the Rebbeinu Shalom is accepting his tshuva. So where is this place that HaKadosh Baruch Hu lifts up the balei tshuva? Where is makom? Where is the makom? Where is it? L'chayra, it's those final 55 levels of Shamayim. Maybe that's why Gedoyla Tshuva Shemagas Ad Kisei HaKavod. Tefillah doesn't have to reach a Kisei HaKavod. Tefillah, you just have to get it like above the schach, and then the malachim come, and the Machnisei Tefillah Seinu, the Machnisei Rachamim, they send it up. Doesn't say anywhere Gedoyla Tefillah Shemagas Ad Kisei. No, the malachim come, they kick it up. Ayin the Shiur on the Shem Membeis, on a B'Koyach. The Malachi Ashores, they have wings. How many wings do they have? It's Machlokes Yeshaya and Yechezkel, right? One pasuk says they have 6 wings. One pasuk says they have 4 wings. What's the pshat? The Goyin says the wings of the Malachi Ashores are Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusai Li'Olam Va'ed. But when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the Rebbeinu Shalom does not have Kavod Malchus anymore. So that's why we're mispalel in Shemona Esrei, Avinu Malkeinu Galei Kevoid Malchuscha Aleinu. In other words, the Malachim used to have 6 wings. Now they have 4 wings because Kavod Malchus was clipped off. Where Mispalel Galei Kevoid Malchuscha. So Malachim, they send up the tefillas. Torah doesn't say Torah has to reach Kisei HaKavod. It says in Perkei Avos, you learn Torah, the Rebbeinu Shalom comes down and he listens to your tefillah, your Torah, and he writes it down. And the Malachim don't start up with Torah. They understand how valuable Torah is. The problem is when it comes to Chuvah. When it comes to Chuvah, Houston, we've got a problem. Because when it comes to Chuvah, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to come down. He's a guy, what's he going to do? His whole life, for 90 years, the guy didn't learn a word, didn't daven a word, did every Avera in the book, and then in a week before, the doctor says, okay, we're giving you 7 days left. Oh, really? Oh, Shamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu. And the Malachim say, I mean, the guy went 90 years, didn't do anything good. Now he's saying Vidoy? I mean, come on, what's he supposed to do? He can't even taste his food anymore. Now, of course he's saying Vidoy. Rebbe Shalom accepts it. Malachim says it's ridiculous. So Rebbe Shalom has to create a sphere of a space where the Malachei Asharis are not allowed entry, so they can't interfere with the Chuvah. That, we're suggesting, is the final 55 madregos of the Shamayim. Where do these 55 madregos begin? Ru'u ata, ki ani hu, v'ein Elokim imadi, ani amis v'achayeh. That is level 901. That is introduced with the pasuk Ru'u ata, ki ani hu, v'ein Elokim imadi. What ois is the Sukkah? Sukkah is 2 amos and a tefach. Which letter is that? The ois hey. Everybody knows it's the ois hey. All the Mekubalim say it's the ois hey. The Gemara says in Menachos, why is this world? What is this world like? This world is like an achsadra. What letter is it like? It's like the letter hey. Why is it like the letter hey? Easy to fall out. Very easy to fall out. It's much easier to fall out than to stay in. There's a big hole on the bottom. Any day you could fall out. Very easy. A lot of ways to fall out. You could be tired. You could be angry. You could be sad. You could be annoyed. You could be any day there could be an under a maisa why you're not in it anymore. You know. So the Gemara says, and why is there a little opening on the top? That's to come back in. So the Gemara asks, Rish Lakish asks, why can't you come back in through the same place you fell out of? You need, to do Chuvah, you need extra siyata d'shmaya. Bala taher, Messiah noisai. To get back in, we need another hole. Hashem has to give another opening to be able to get back in. Because once you fall out, you need siyata d'shmaya to get back in. Whose statement is that? Listen carefully. Whose statement is it that this world is like a letter hey, and when you fall out, you need extra siyata d'shmaya to get back in? That's the statement of Rish Lakish. Interesting, Rish Lakish. The Shem Yishmuel says this is Rish Lakish l'shitasai. The Gemara Psachim says on Daf Kuf Yotes, look at number 37, Amar Rav Kahana, Mishum Rabbi Shmuel, Bar Yosi, Amar Rish Lakish, Mishum Rabbi Huda Nasiya. What does it mean? V'yadi adam mitachas kanfehem. It doesn't say my hands. Yadoi ksiv. Ze yadoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu sheprusa tachas kanfei achayos kedei lekabel balei tshuva miyad midas hadin. Rish Lakish says that the Rivan Shalom's hand is always open, readily accepting the tshuva from the malachim who try to interfere with it and say, no, midas hadin, we should not accept the tshuva. So it's interesting. This world is like the letter hey. Why is this world like the letter hey? Because hey represents what? Chuvah. Hey represents Chuvah. Hey represents even when you fall out, you come back in. You slip out, you come right back in. The letter hey is the ois of Chuvah. In fact, the Zohar says, what's Chuvah? Tashuv hey. You get back in through the hey. So if you sat in a place that was a letter hey, where would you say you're sitting? You got to be sitting in the realm of Chuvah. So if the Sukkah is the ois hey, then the Sukkah is the realm where Chuvah is accepted. Really? So if the Sukkah is a place where Chuvah is accepted, so maybe there are no malachim, because the malachim can't come in. If tshuva is accepted, the malachim can't come in. But then it's very lonely. If you don't have malachim, isn't it lonely? I mean, at least Friday night we have very nice guests. We have Shalom Aleichem Malachei Ashares Bayachim. We have nice guests on Shabbos. We have the malachim. But then Sukkah, we're guestless. It's depressing if you don't have any guests. Hashem says, don't worry. In the Sukkah, you have a different kind of guests. The first night, Abraham will come, Yitzchak will come, Yaakov will come. But you're not having any malachim. There's no Shalom Aleichem in the Sukkah. The Sukkah, they're not allowed to come in. The Sukkah is the letter Hey. The Sukkah is the realm of Chuvah. The Sukkah is the place where Chuvah is accepted. And the Malachim are being mekatreg, and Hashem says, no. In these 55 levels of Shamayim, the Sukkah is corresponding to the top 55 levels of Shamayim, where Chuvah is accepted. It's just you and the Ribono Shel Olam. Yachbienu bitseil yadai, you're under the shade of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and when you're under the shade of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you don't have to worry about any Malachi HaShares who are mekatreg. Says Hashem Shmuel, you know why you can't say anywhere in the Torah that the third leg is only a tefach? Because the third leg of being a tefach is the opening of Chuvah. And it can't say anything about Chuvah in the Torah. Because Malachim would go berserk. If it's said in the Torah that there's an opening, that people could get back in after they fall out, the Malachim would go out of their minds. So Rabbi says, Halacha l'Moshe miSinai. We're not telling anybody. It doesn't say it it doesn't say it in the book. So Malachim come to Shul, they're doing Hagbah, they're doing Galila, they don't see anything about Tshuva. You need 3 full walls. As far as the Malachim are concerned, you need 3 full walls. But it's Halacha l'Moshe miSinai. Why? Because the Halacha l'Moshe miSinai is acknowledging that when you fall out of the hay, you get to come back in. That's the Sukkah, the realm where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Makabel your Tshuva, and he doesn't listen to the Kitrug of the Malachi Hashems. And what's the opening of Chuvah? Level 901 of Shamayim. And which pasuk corresponds to the Pesach of Chuvah? Ru'u, ata, ki ani hu, v'ein Elokim imadi. And what's going to be if, let's say, after 21 days that we've tried to do Chuvah, and we've tried to change, and we said this year we'll never, and we already did the same thing 25 times, so it's not a really tshuva. And what if we try to be good, but we slipped up, or we made a silly mistake? Is the tshuva going to be accepted? So we have to summon the greatest power of tshuva that the malachim don't understand, and they don't accept, and they're not allowed in. So what are we tzoyek? Every day of the Hoshanas, and especially tomorrow, Hoshana Rabba, we're tzoyek. Ani v'hai Hoshana. We want to access the 901st level of Shamayim that nobody could get in, not any of the Malachim. A place where the Ribono Shel Olam will accept us, even if we do a lousy tshuva. Even if we're like an Arava. Ein Maseh, ein Reach, ve'ein Mitzvah, ein Torah, ve'ein Maz, we're nothing. We're the simple Arava. But even the Arava is allowed access through the Koyach of Hashem's Yodai Pshuta Lekabel Shavim, which the key to that is Ru'u, Ata, Ki ani hu, v'ein Elokim imadi. That's the Koyach of Ani v'hoi Hoshiana. That's what we're trying to access. What did they sing at the Simchas Beis HaShoeva? Simcha. No, they didn't sing that. That's what we sing. What did they sing at the Simchas Beis HaShoeva? The Gemara says in Sukkah, they would say, Ashrei ziknusenu shekipra es yaldusenu elu balei tshuva elu ve'elu oimrim Ashrei mi shaloi chata. Yeah, you know that song. Ashrei mi shaloi chata u'mi shechata. You know that song? Yashuv ya Avram Fried. But it's a Gemara. Before Avram Fried, it was in the Gemara. Yeah? So, u'mi shechata ya, that's what they sang. The song of the Simchas Beis HaShoeva was Tshuva. That was the nigun. That was the tune. That was the song. How do you do tshuva through the Simchas Beis HaShoeva? You recognize that there's a spot in this world, Samuch l'kisei hakavod, where even though nobody, no chacham, no navi, no malach could understand this, but only the Ribono Shel Olam, b'chemlasai, b'rachmanusai, b'ahavasai liYisrael, is makabel our attempt of tshuva, that even when we fall out of the hay, we get right back in. This is the realm that we're in for the 7 days of Sukkot, the realm of the Sukkah. And therefore, let's try as follows. What would Hillel, who specialized in the name Ani, After all, I once saw in the Ben Yehoyada, Hillel's Gematria, Aleph Dal Nun Yud 65. So l'chayra, that means he specialized in understanding the Shem Adnos, which the Ani is shorthand for. When he was B'Simchat, the Simsel, he said, I know there's 72 names of Hashem, but you know which name I need more than any other name? Im Ani Kan. Kan is 71. If out of the other 71 I have Ani, Hakoil Kan, then I can access Hakoil, the 55 levels of Shamayim, which allow Chuvah to be accepted. All I need is the Shem Ani. Im Ani Kan. If I can access that 901st level of Shamayim, which is opened up, Re'u Ata. You want to see Chuvah? Ani Anihu. If I have the Shem Ani from Kan, from all the other 71 names, then Hakoil is 55. I could get into the 55 upper levels of Shamayim, and our Chuvah will be accepted. But if Ani is not here, then it's going to be tough going. So we hope, Be'ezus Hashem, that when we are mispalel, mischanein, titzoyek, Ani v'hoi Hoshana, the Yivon Hashem accepts our Chuvah, even if it's only on the level of an Arava, and as the Svarim tell us, that on Hoshana Rabba, even if we're a oiska klapta Hoshana, even if we're not just a regular Hoshana. How do you say it? Okay, I'm just checking. Okay? Okay? Even if it's not even a Hoshana Shalem, where a mamish, our Teshuvah is in shatters. We take that Hoshana, it goes up on top of the Aron Kodesh. It's elevated, mamish, ad kisei hakavod. So we should be zoicha, the Yivon Hashem should accept our attempts of Chuvah in the final hour. Last night they told me in Samar that the Samar Rabba would say every Hoshana Rabba like this. You know, the Torah says that Erev Rosh Hashanah, tzaddikim fast, because when the king is coming, so you send out a delegation of officials to sort of preempt the king. And then Rosh Hashanah, Aser Simei Tshuva, even the average folk fast, because as the king is getting closer, you have to, more people have to greet the king. And then Yom Kippur, everyone's fasting, because once the king's already in the city, everybody got to shape up. So what exactly is going on with Hoshana Rabba? Hoshana Rabba, the king is already, he's leaving, and now all of a sudden we were waking up. You know the Gemara in Gittin. The Gemara in Gittin says about when Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai met a Vespasian, right? So he said, first, he said, oh, you're a king. He said, I'm not a king, and if I am, what took you so long? If I'm a king, you should have come out to greet me. So if God is the Melech, why do we wake up Hoshana Rabba? He's already on the way out. Now we wake up when the king is leaving. We should have preempted him. That's if we have a personal request. But what if as the king is leaving, somebody comes to the king and says, no, I don't have a request for myself. I'm asking for you. I have something that I could do for you. So then the king is going to listen. So in the final hour on Hoshana Rabba, we say, Ribono Shel Olam, this is not for our sake. It's Hoshana L'mancha Elokeinu. We're asking for your sake that Klal Yisrael should be elevated, so that your name should be sanctified in the world. L'mancha Boireinu, L'mancha Goy Aleinu, L'mancha Darshenu. And we're mispalel Ani v'hoi Hoshiana, that we should be able to access this pasuk, Ru'u Ata Ki Ani Hu, the 901st pasuk of Devarim, which opens up the final 55 levels of Shamayim. Im Ani Kan, Hakoil Kan. We should be zoicha that our Chuvah should be neskabel, Hashem should be mashpia on all of us. Shefa, bracha v'hatzlacha, for a chasima toiva, a gut yar, a gut in kvitel, and a gut yom tov. Shkayach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.